Hi friends, in this video, today we will talk about a typical situation where a person wanted to resell his flat to a potential buyer, but there were few things related to this deal that made this deal a typical situation. I have heard that real estate investors do this kind of deal all the time, but for a common man, it is not common to face such a situation. So recently, I met a person who had bought a flat around 3 years back. Today, the situation is that flat is still under construction. The person has taken the loan from a bank, and the bank has already disbursed almost 95% of the loan amount. The person has also paid 100% of his personal contribution to the builder. But now, for this person, the situation has slightly changed and he wanted to sell this flat of his. He wanted to part away with this flat, and he also wanted to make his loan outstanding zero. This was his priority. He wanted to sell the flat and he wanted to make his loan zero. But this is a typical situation. Why this is a typical situation? Because first of all, the flat is still under construction, and because it is still under construction, the possession of the flat is still not with the person, and neither he has got the flat registered under his name. So technically the flat is still not his flat, it is still in the name of the builder. So in this situation, is it possible for this person to sell the flat? I did some research and I found that yes, there are provisions that people can sell an under construction flat for which they have not received the possession nor they have got themselves registered for this flat. So it is possible to sell such a flat, but it will not be like a resale of a normal flat. How to go about reselling this kind of flat where the flat is still under construction, you have a loan, you want to use the sale proceeds from this resale and make your loan zero. So there are a lot of moving parts in this deal, and that's what makes this deal slightly complicated. So what should the seller do in order to proceed with such a resale deal? First of all, they should approach the builder and inform the builder that I am not in a position to take the flat in my name. You should explain the reasons to the builder and ask the builder that if there are provisions of transfer of ownership from the person to somebody else. So if this kind of transfer policy is there in the terms and conditions of the contract, the builder will say yes. Generally there is a deal, there is a provision for transfer, and majority of the builders will agree to do it. So you should get a clearance from the builder that yes, it is possible to transfer the name from you to somebody else. Secondly, the person should approach their lending bank. Suppose you have taken loan from HDFC Bank. So approach HDFC Bank, tell them that what is the evolved situation, and in this evolved situation, you are not in a position to take over the ownership of the flat in your name, but you want to resell it to somebody else. And also make sure that you tell the bank that from the sale proceeds of this deal, you will use this money to make loan outstanding zero. And after you explain this to the bank, take a NOC, no objection certificate from your bank. So you have taken kind of a no objection certificate from your builder, and also you have taken in writing a no objection certificate from your bank. So once you have these two things in place, then you should approach a good broker, a real estate agent who specialize in this kind of resale. I have already told you the resale of this flat is not common. Investors do it all the time, but for a retail investor, for a common man, it is not an easy thing to do. That's why you should take help of a trained broker. What this trained broker will do? This trained broker will look for a potential buyer for the flat, and this buyer should also be aware that the flat is still under construction, the possession letter and the registration of the property is still not done, and the current owner of the flat wish to use the sale proceeds from this deal to clear off his home loan. So finding this kind of buyer is not easy, because generally what the buyers will do, they will like to approach the builder directly and buy the flat directly from the builder, or if else they are in hurry, what they will do, they will buy a ready to move flat. But why a buyer will buy this kind of flat where a third person is involved? It is not going to be a deal between the builder and the buyer, but there is a third person who has already bought a flat from the builder, but now want to resell it. So it is kind of a complicated situation where a third person is involved. The third person also has a loan, who wants to get rid of the loan by using the money from the sale proceeds. So it is kind of a complicated situation, and the buyer will buy such a flat only if they are getting a good price deal from you. So that's why I say that finding this kind of buyer is not easy. uh, this is where a trained real estate agent will play its role. Once the agent is able to find a buyer, uh, and the buyer agrees to buy such a flat, they will sign a tri-party agreement. Why tri-party agreement? Because here the agreement will be, first of all, there will be there will be the builder, then there will be the first owner, and the third will be the potential buyer. So all these three people will come together, they will sign a contract, they will sign an agreement where all of them will agree to do this deal between each other. The agreement should also include the buyer's intention to how he's thinking to finance this purchase of the property. Either he has his money, he's going to finance everything from his pocket, or if he's going to take a loan from the bank, then he must also attach the sanction letter from his bank that yes, the bank has already sanctioned to finance this purchase of this flat. Sometimes the banks may refuse to finance purchase of such a flat where the possession letter is still not there, where the agreement has still not been signed. So maybe the buyer's bank may refuse to issue loans. So that's why it is very important that the buyer should also attach the sanction letter, where in the sanction letter it is mentioned clearly that the buyer is going to buy a flat which is so and so. It is not directly from the builder, but it is from a third person. Once this tri-party agreement is made, the next step is to transfer the ownership of the flat to the potential buyer. This transfer of ownership to the potential buyer should be done through a sale deed, which must be accordingly registered. So make a sale deed, get it registered, and against this registered sales deed, the buyer can transfer the major part of the money to the seller. Seller can use this money to pay off the loan, and what the buyer is getting, the buyer is getting a registered sale deed. He will also get a power of attorney, where in the power of attorney it will make him eligible that when the flat is complete, he can take the ownership of the flat on behalf of the current seller. Now, what this buyer will do, when the flat is ready, he will carry the copy of the registered sale deed, he will carry a copy of the power of attorney, he will go to the builder, and the builder will give him the possession letter based on these two documents. Once the possession letter is handed over to the buyer, what the buyer will do, the buyer will transfer the balance amount to the current seller. The seller will get all his money, the buyer will get the possession letter, and uh, and because he has already registered the sale deed, he has the power of attorney, he has now the possession letter, he will again reapproach uh, the authorities and get the flat registered under his name. So you can see most of the steps are common with the procedures of resale of a normal flat, but in this case 2-3 things extra must be done. First of all, the cash flow for the current seller. The cash flow is very important because he needs cash from the buyer to pay off his loan. This is first critical step. The second is they have to get the sale deed registered, that is compulsory. And third is the use of power of attorney. Remember this fact that the buyer who's going to buy your flat, he's not buying a normal flat, he's a kind of buying a flat which is kind of risky. So unless you give him a good price advantage, he will not buy the flat from you. If you're not giving any advantage, he will rather buy the flat directly from the builder, or he will buy a flat for which the possession letter is there, the flat is already registered in somebody else's name. So I hope you like this video. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up and please do subscribe to my YouTube channel.